It's 20 degrees outside, the ground is frozen solid, and most gardeners have hung up their gloves for the season. But what if I told you that some of the best gardening you'll do this year could happen right here, in the dead of winter, without a greenhouse, without fancy equipment, and with vegetables that will actually produce faster than they would in your summer garden. I'm Sunny from Sunnyside Soil, and today I'm showing you 9 vegetables that will thrive indoors this winter. And I'm not just talking about sad, leggy sprouts that barely survive. I'm talking about legitimate, productive crops that will keep you harvesting fresh food while everyone else is staring at seed catalogs. Okay, real talk here for a second. I don't know about you, but winter makes me genuinely anxious if I can't get my hands in the soil. There's something about that dormant season when everything outside is brown and frozen that it messes with my mental health. I need to be growing something, nurturing something, watching something transform from seed to food. And that's exactly why I started experimenting with indoor winter gardening. Not just microgreens or herbs, though we will touch on those, but actual vegetables that produce real yields. Some of these vegetables will surprise you with how productive they are indoors. Others are more about keeping your skills sharp and your gardening anxiety at bay until spring. But all 9 of these have earned their place on this list through actual trial and error in my own indoor setup. And here's the beautiful part. Everything I'm showing you today can be done with basic supplies. We're talking grow lights you can get under 50 bucks, containers you probably already have, and a simple potting mix. All right, let's break down these 9 winter warriors. Starting with the obvious champion, lettuce. And there's a reason I'm putting this first. If you only grow one thing indoors this winter, make it lettuce. Here's why lettuce is the perfect indoor winter crop. It's fast, it doesn't need a ton of light compared to fruiting plants. It has shallow roots so you can grow it in a relatively small container, and you can harvest it multiple times with the cut and come method again. For varieties, stick with leaf lettuce rather than head lettuce. I love black-seeded Simpson, oak leaf, and any of the Asian salad mixes. They're ready to harvest in 30 to 40 days, sometimes sooner if you're taking baby leaves. Here's the setup. Use containers at least 4 to 6 inches deep. I like these shallow propagation trays because you can fit a lot of lettuce in a small footprint. Plant seeds about an inch apart. Don't overthink the spacing though, because lettuce is forgiving. For light requirements, now this is where people get intimidated, but lettuce only needs about 12 to 14 hours of light per day. A basic LED shop light from the hardware store will absolutely work. Keep it about 6 inches above your plants and raise it as they grow. For temperature, lettuce actually prefers it cool. 60 to 70 degrees is ideal, so that room in your house that's a little drafty, that's perfect for lettuce. Now here's a pro tip. Plant a new tray every 2 weeks. This gives you a continuous harvest all winter long instead of a boom and bust cycle. Trust me, once you taste lettuce that was growing 10 minutes before you hit your salad bowl, store-bought will never be the same. Number 2 is spinach, and honestly, spinach might be even better indoors than lettuce in terms of cold tolerance and nutrient density. Spinach is a powerhouse. It's loaded with iron, vitamins, and it actually gets sweeter in cooler temperatures. This is one of those vegetables where the indoor winter environment is actually closer to ideal than summer outdoor growing. Now here's some varieties. Space is a great all-around variety, and Bloomsdale is classic for a reason. For baby leaves, which I like in the winter, Regiment is incredibly fast. Here are your container requirements. Similar to lettuce, 4 to 6 inches deep is plenty. You can absolutely grow spinach in the same setup as your lettuce. Here's the key difference. Spinach is more cold tolerant than lettuce. It'll actually handle temperatures down into the 50s without any complaints. If you have an unheated sunroom or a mudroom with a window, spinach will thrive there while you keep your lettuce somewhere warmer. The light needs for spinach is about 12 to 14 hours, same as lettuce, and you can literally put them side by side under the same lights. You want to start harvesting your spinach from the outer leaves when they're about 3 to 4 inches long. The plant will keep producing from the center, giving you multiple harvests from the same plant. I've kept a single spinach plant going for 8 to 10 weeks with continuous harvest, which by the way is another way of saying the cut and come again method. One warning, spinach does bolt faster than lettuce if it gets too warm, so keep it on the cooler side and it'll reward you all winter long. Number 3 is arugula. Now, if lettuce is the reliable friend and spinach is the health conscious one, then arugula is the friend who shows up to the party with unexpected energy. Arugula grows ridiculously fast. I'm talking like 20 to 30 days from seed to first harvest. And that peppery flavor, well, it's actually stronger when it's grown in cool conditions, which makes winter the perfect time for it. Here's some growing notes for arugula. Arugula is possibly the easiest thing on this list. Scatter seeds in a shallow container, cover lightly with soil, keep it moist, and it'll germinate in less than a week. For light, you want the same as lettuce and spinach, about 12 to 14 hours under basic grow lights. The secret to arugula is to harvest it when it's young. Baby arugula is where it's at. Less bitter, more tender, still has that peppery kick, and once leaves get bigger than 3 to 4 inches, they can get tough and overly spicy. Now, real talk here for a moment. Arugula bolts faster than anything else on this list when it gets warm. But here's the thing. Indoors in winter, you can control that. Keep it cool and it'll behave. And because it grows so fast, even if a plant does bolt on you, you can have another one ready in just a few weeks. This is also a great crop to succession plant every 2 weeks. Each planting takes up minimal space and you'll have fresh arugula for salads, pizzas, pastas, wherever you want that peppery punch. Number 4 is microgreens. Now, I know some people roll their eyes at microgreens like they're some hipster trend, but hear me out. These are legitimate nutrition powerhouses that grow in 7 to 14 days and require almost no space. Microgreens are basically any vegetable or herb harvested at the cotyledon stage. That's those first leaves that emerge. And research shows that they can contain up to 40 times more nutrients than a mature plant. Best varieties for winter indoor growing are radish microgreens because they're spicy and they're crunchy and they're ready in about 7 days. Sunflower shoots, they have a nutty flavor, a substantial texture, and they're ready in about 10 to 12 days. Pea shoots, they're sweet and they're crunchy and they're ready in about 14 days. Broccoli microgreens, they're ready in about 10 days. So here's the setup for microgreens, and you don't even need a deep container. I use a shallow planting tray with no drainage holes. Yes, you heard that right. You're harvesting so quickly that drainage isn't even critical if you're careful with watering. Here's the process. Spread seeds densely. We're talking thick coverage. Cover with a thin layer of potting mix and mist it daily. Once they germinate, give them light. 12 to 14 hours under your grow lights. Now, to harvest microgreens, cut with scissors right above the soil line when the first true leaves start to appear. Here's why I love microgreens for winter. They're fast enough that they kind of scratch that growing itch even when everything else is still maturing. And you can literally go from seed to harvest in a week. That's just 7 days from I'm bored with cabin fever to I'm eating something I grew myself. Plus, they're profitable if you want to offset your indoor gardening costs. Sell them at farmers markets or to your local restaurants. Microgreens command a premium price if you are looking for that sort of thing. Number 5, green onions, also called scallions. And this one might be the most practical one on the entire list for one simple reason. You can regrow them from scraps. Here's the famous method. Buy a bunch of green onions from your grocery store, make sure they're organic. Use the green tops, save the white bulb ends with roots. Stick those roots in a glass of water or directly in the soil and they'll regrow. I'm not exaggerating here. You can get multiple harvests from the same grocery store onion. But let's take it a step further. If you want a continuous supply, actually plant seeds. From seeds, use a container at least 6 inches deep. Sow seeds about 1/4 inch deep, roughly 1/2 inch apart. They'll germinate within 7 to 10 days. Here are the light requirements for scallions. They need a little bit more light than lettuce. 14 to 16 hours is ideal. They could get a little leggy with not enough light. For temperatures, they're flexible. Between 60 and 75 degrees works fine. And for harvest, you can start harvesting them when they're pencil thick, usually 60 to 70 days from seed. But here's the beauty. You can harvest just the green tops and let them regrow, or you can do the grow from scraps method for a quick yield. Here's why they're essential. Green onions add flavor to so many winter dishes, soups, stir fries, tacos, eggs. Having them fresh instead of buying them every week is a game changer. Plus, they're nearly indestructible and very forgiving for beginners. Number 6 is kale. Now, full disclosure here, kale isn't going to produce massive bunches indoors like they would in your garden. But baby kale, well, now that's a different story. Kale is one of those vegetables that handles cold incredibly well. Frost actually makes it sweeter, so growing it in the cooler temperatures of indoor winter growing works in your favor. The best varieties for indoor kale is dwarf blue curled because it's compact, and lacinato, or dinosaur kales, also known as Tuscan kale, because it stays relatively manageable. You want to avoid the big sprawling varieties. So for your container depth, you want to go at least 8 to 10 inches deep. Kale has a more substantial root system than lettuce does. And for light, this is where kale demands more. You need 14 to 16 hours of light, and it should be quality light. Those basic LED shop lights will still work, but you might need to keep them closer to the plants. Now the strategy for kale is to grow for baby leaves, not full-size leaves. You want to plant seeds thin to about 4 inches apart and start harvesting outer leaves when they are 3 to 4 inches long. The plants will keep producing from the center. The temperature, well, kale prefers it cool. Between 55 and 65 degrees Fahrenheit is ideal. That unheated sunroom that I mentioned for spinach, well, kale will love that there too. Now here's a reality check. Is indoor kale as productive as outdoor kale? No. Will you get enormous bunches? No. But will you get fresh, nutrient-dense baby kale leaves for smoothies and salads all winter long? Absolutely. And sometimes that's just enough to keep your gardening spirit alive when there's 3 feet of snow outside. Number 7 is radishes, and this is where we start getting into actual root vegetables grown indoors. And yes, it does absolutely work. Radishes are one of the fastest maturing vegetables that you can grow, between 25 and 30 days from seed to harvest for many varieties. They're perfect for impatient gardeners, which, let's be honest, is all of us in February when we're going stir crazy. Now the best varieties for indoors, Cherry Belle is the classic round red radish, fast and reliable. French breakfast is oblong and mild. Easter egg, it gives you color variety. And for something different, try white icicle, a little longer radish that's mild and crisp. Now here are the container requirements for radishes, and this is important. You need at least 6 inches of depth for bulb development. Wider, shallower containers work better than tall, narrow ones. Spacing is, you want to thin it about 2 inches apart. Crowded radishes won't form bulbs. They'll just give you all tops and no bottoms. Now you can eat those radish greens if you want, but in the dead of winter, I like to see the red bulb coming out of the potting mix. Now here are the light requirements for radishes. They need good light, 16 hours minimum. Now this isn't a crop for a windowsill unless you have a south-facing window getting full winter sun. And even then, I don't get 16 hours worth of sun in my south-facing window. Now radishes prefer it cool, between 50 and 65 degrees Fahrenheit. Warmer than that and they get spicy and just tough. The mistake everyone makes is letting them go too long. Radishes are fast, but they're also unforgiving. Harvest them as soon as they reach a usable size. If you wait, they get woody and pithy. Here's why I like to grow them indoors. Honestly, it's about the satisfaction. There's something deeply rewarding about pulling an actual root vegetable from a container in your basement in January. It's tangible proof that you're not just keeping plants alive, but you're producing a real food. Plus, fresh radishes have a crisp, clean flavor that grocery store radishes just don't match. Slice them thin for tacos, roast them like potatoes, or do the classic radish on buttered bread thing. Number 8 is carrots. Now, I hear you saying, Sonny, that's impossible. Let me be specific. We're talking about baby carrots or round varieties, not the foot-long storage carrots. Growing carrots indoors is absolutely doable if you choose the right varieties and set yourself up for success. Here's some varieties that work. Thumbelina, the round golf ball sized carrots, perfect for containers. Parisian, another round variety, sweet and quick. Little fingers, actual baby carrot shape, 3 to 4 inches long. Romeo, because they're small, sweet, and bred specifically for container growing. The key, deep enough containers. You need at least 8 to 10 inches of depth for baby varieties. And the soil quality matters here. Use a light, fluffy potting mix. If it's dense or has chunks, your carrots will fork and twist. They need to push through easily. And if you're wondering where to get light and fluffy seed starter mix, well, you're in luck because we here at Sunnyside Soil make our own mix, and you can buy yours at sunnysidesoil.com. Now, light for carrots is between 14 and 16 hours. They are root vegetables, but they still need good light for top growth, which fuels root development. Temperature, cool is better, between 60 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit. And here's a germination trick. Carrot seeds are notoriously slow and finicky. Keep the soil consistently moist for the first 2 weeks. It means checking it daily. Once they germinate, thin to about 1 inch apart. Now this is crucial. Crowded carrots don't form roots. Here's the timeline for carrots. Baby varieties take between 50 and 70 days, which feels like a long time compared to lettuce, but in the dead of winter, that's just 2 months of watching something develop toward a harvest. It's more therapeutic. At least that's what I like to tell myself. Now here's a reality check. Indoor carrots will be smaller and might take slightly longer than outdoor summer carrots. But when you pull that first sweet, crunchy baby carrot in February, you won't care. It'll taste like victory. Number 9 is herbs. Now, some people like to grow cilantro indoors during the winter. I'm one of those people that think cilantro tastes like soap, so I'm going to grow basil and parsley together because they are good companion plants and they have similar growing requirements. And honestly, having fresh herbs in winter is kind of a non-negotiable for good cooking. Now, if you're one of those weirdos that actually likes cilantro, here's how to grow it. You'll need a container that's at least 8 inches deep. Cilantro develops a taproot. You want to sow those seeds directly because it doesn't transplant well. You'll give it 12 to 14 hours of light and you'll keep it cool between 60 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. To harvest cilantro, you'll start snipping leaves when plants are 4 to 6 inches tall. Cut them from the outside. Let the center keep on growing. And here's the thing, cilantro will eventually bolt no matter what you do. But indoors in winter, you'll get 6 to 8 weeks of harvest before it does. When it does bolt, let it go to seed. Those are coriander seeds, also useful. Now, if you want to grow parsley with your cilantro, parsley is the more patient cousin of cilantro. It takes longer to germinate, sometimes 3 weeks, but once it's established, it's a steady producer all winter long. Now, there are 2 types of parsley. You can use flat leaf or Italian parsley, which has a better flavor for cooking, or curly parsley is more decorative, but still totally usable. To grow parsley, you need a container that's at least 8 inches deep. Soak the seeds overnight before planting. This helps with that slow germination. The light requirements are 12 to 14 hours, and the growing temperature is between 60 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit. That's why it makes a good companion with cilantro. Now, to harvest, cut stems from the outside and let the center continue growing. One parsley plant can produce for months with this method. And if you want to learn how to grow basil inside, well, leave a comment below and I'll make a video on that. But why do these herbs matter? Winter cooking tends towards soups, stews, roasted dishes, things that benefit from fresh herb finishings. Having cilantro for tacos, curries, and salsa, and parsley for basically everything else transforms winter cooking. You're not just surviving winter, you're eating well through it. Plus, from a mental health perspective, and I'm being totally serious here, having living fragrant herbs in your house during the dark months generally helps. That smell when you brush against a parsley plant, that's aromatherapy you grew yourself. And here's what I want you to take away from this. Indoor winter gardening isn't about replacing your summer garden. It's not about filling your freezer or feeding your family entirely. That's not the point. The point is staying connected to the growing process when everything outside is dormant. It's about keeping your skills sharp, maintaining your relationship with soil and seeds, and producing something fresh and alive when the world feels frozen and dead. For me personally, having these plants under my lights and in my basement is the difference between winter being tolerable and winter being a mental health struggle. I need to put my hands in soil. I need to see things grow. I need that connection to the cycles of growth and harvest, even when it's artificially created with grow lights and potting mix. And here's the beautiful thing. Everything I showed you today is achievable with basic equipment. You don't need a greenhouse. You don't need expensive hydroponic systems. All you need is containers, potting mix, basic grow lights, and seeds. That's it. Now, before I let you go, if you're growing any of these indoors right now, drop a comment and let me know what's working for you. If you have questions about specific varieties, light setups, or anything else, just ask below. I do read every comment and I'll answer what I can. And if this video helps you see that winter doesn't have to be gardening dormancy, then please hit that subscribe button. We're all about sustainable growing, soil health, and keeping that garden spirit alive year-round here at Sunnyside Soil.